Well, folks, it's 7:01, and we're actually running just a little bit late, but we're going to get this shindig underway, and I want to welcome everybody to another one of the Works Local Racing Roundups. And tonight, I think we've got a pretty good schedule of people to be on, don't you, Greg?
Yeah, I just told everybody before we got rolling, but I'll tell everybody again, officially, tonight on the Works, we've got the Burlington family, and they're going to be inducted into the Carb Hall of Fame, so we sure thank you all for coming. They're part of our studio audience right now, so
Yay!
Donnie Burlington, looks like his dad Don, Sharon, Don's wife, and Lisa. And some photography is really hitting the internet from Lisa's lens.
Absolutely.
And, makes my day to see some of those great pictures.
Yeah, I'm a fan of hers, big time fan, but I did tell her, I said, I think the stills are a little easier than video,
well, they're not.
especially equipment wise. But,
100 miles an hour. Oh, no.
but anyway, they turn out some beautiful stuff. I mean, people love it. I don't know how else to say it. But
well, Mark Chapman's also a guest tonight.
Yes, sir.
A modified champion from Lakeside Speedway. And I think not arriving yet on the set is Justin Lawson. He's our host. JD Media and
JD Lawson Media.
JD Lawson Media.
Yeah, he's going to be handling an interview with the Burlingtons, and the reason we kind of decided to go that route is Justin, of course, has some really close ties now with the Carb Hall of Fame, and he's going to be interviewing all of the inductees. So we're going to let him have a little practice tonight. And who's going to be the last one on the lineup?
Well, first of all, Justin is everywhere. I mean, what a guy. I'm so glad that we've got him involved here. But our final guest is one that at Valley Speedway, we know the name, but if you watch Power Eye sprint and midget racing, he drives the midget, he's the champion. It's Tucker Klaasmeyer.
Yeah.
He happens to be a local racer, technically. He's from Paola, Kansas.
Paola. Yeah, that's one of the questions I forgot to put on the paper for him was what high school he went to. I don't know if he...
I think he's a Paola boy. We'll talk to him.
Gardner Edgerton or what that would be. But anyway, we're going to be talking to Tucker. I appreciate him, agreeing to come on the show. It will be a phone-in interview, but we're going to try and work it out here with a cell phone, and we've been testing it here, and it sounds like it's going to be okay. We're pretty sure you're going to be able to understand him. But hey, let's talk some racing and bring in the Burlingtons and Justin, and
I'm ready.
Let them go at it.
I am ready whenever you guys are. We'll bring on the Burlingtons and Justin. Tucker will be on later as we speak.
About 8 o'clock.
You want to hang around and listen to this young man because he's, Kyle Larson and Rico Abreu, and there's so many. There's an 11-car team owned by Keith Coons. They were just at the Chili Bowl, and one of our local drivers, Tucker Klaasmeyer, finished 13th in the A main out of 300 cars at the Chili Bowl.
Yeah, it's unreal. Absolutely. I think a former Sweet Springs driver also. But we'll get into that. Like I say, let's turn it over to Justin and the Burlingtons and let them go at it.
I'm giving my seat to whoever would like to join.
Let's see here. Are the sheets over there, Curtis, for the Burlingtons?
No. Also on the end.
They've got them right there. Justin, here's...
Oh, okay.
I
got Mark and Tucker.
Okay.
Can you get it?
Yep, I get it in.
My hand. I've seen this stuff, yeah.
It's all right. We just want that.
All right. You got us?
Yes, sir.
All right. We recording,
Yes,
Mike?
sir.
All right. Good deal. All right. Well, welcome, everybody. I think this is the third installment here of the Works Local Racing Roundup. Mike has been so gracious to give this platform for the local racing community. We've had some great guests so far. I think the first one we had Bobby Lane and Danny Lawson. Last week's show we had Kevin Anderson, Tim Powell. Who else do we have over here, Mike? I know I'm missing somebody, but we've had some top quality guests here, and I was excited about this, getting you guys in here. Don Burlington, of course, is one of the inductees here into the 2019 Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame, and Donnie and Lisa have been kind enough to come on on Don's behalf to talk a little bit about him and his life and his influence and impact here on the local Kansas City racing scene and the surrounding. I had the distinct honor, actually, of serving on the Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame selection committee, and so it was interesting learning about Don, and I voted for him. And sorry, Karen, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not. So,
It's all
but
good.
yeah, I was proud to do so. And before we delve in to getting to know Don here, and since we are sitting right next to the Central Auto Racing Boosters winner of the Tom Wilson Media Person of the Year Award, thought I'd mention a few quick dates real quick. This Saturday we have the annual bowling tournament at the North KC Pro Bowl. February 22nd through 24th we have the World of Wheels show, which both the Central Auto Racing Boosters and the Hall of Fame are both participating in this year. So we're excited about that. And then we have the pole tournament, and then we have a Snake Saturday parade, I think is March 16th. So we have a lot of great dates coming up here, busy next few months here before racing season starts. So so I voted for Don Burlington for the Hall of Fame, and I'm sure there's a lot of people here that are viewing that knew Don well and had a great impact on their life, and then there's some people that might be viewing that aren't familiar with Don. I have to say that it's no coincidence, Lisa, that you got the Tom Wilson Media Person of the Year award, because I think that you've used social media very well.
I try.
You have kind of, I honestly kind of felt like I got to know your dad through your eyes, through your writing, through your photos, and it's been awesome to do so. And but anyway, let's talk a little bit about you guys. Donnie, you worked with your dad for many years.
Oh yeah,
decades, didn't you?
Oh yeah,
In the shop. So
many stories.
Yeah. So yes, let's go ahead and get right into some here.
He's got some good stories.
I bet he does. So I can relate probably in some ways to working with your dad. I've had the privilege of working with my dad, so I know it probably has its ups and downs.
It was hard at sometimes, but you know, it was also had a lot of good times too. So
what was one of the best times, or what was one of the things working with your dad that you feel like you learned a lot from him, and that maybe he didn't even know he taught you just from being around him?
man, it's just I call it tricks of the trade. I mean, just having the right combinations for the situation that most people will never have the opportunity to learn, because he grew up doing it. And I mean, without him, I'd never probably actually went that direction with my life. So, and it made us be not only father and son, but just friends. You know, I mean, and just learned a lot from just kind of just grew up together in the racing sport together. You know, he obviously raced before I was born, but I think sometimes he lived a little bit of his life through me. You know, maybe some stuff that he didn't get to do because he had to raise, raise a family at such an early age. But I mean, it's just, we had a lot of growing pains, man. But I'll tell you what, we don't have enough time to do it today. But I mean, I could tell you stories from here to the next 5 years. I mean, and they're true. That's what people don't understand. They're not nothing made up. I mean, this the stuff that the guy actually did. I mean, it would just blow your mind. I mean, just that his whole life was nothing but racing. You know,
one of the things that stood out to me was I didn't realize he built the engine for the winning car, which I believe was a Pontiac for the Winchester 400.
Yeah, yes.
Which would have been Vern
Schrock. Yeah, that was back. I think it was like 73.
Was it
Yeah.
73?
This is right back in the pavement days, when the big block versus the small block was coming into play. You know, people were starting to get, small blocks, ladder weight cars, and he showed up with a big block car, and they actually win. And it's actually an ASA race, so all the big boys, like Mark Martin and Rusty Walsh, they were all there.
Right.
So,
yeah,
I mean,
there's some big names.
It was. I mean, obviously, I was. I mean, I didn't go because I was way too young to go to the racetrack back then. But I mean, it meant a lot to him.
He's very proud, very, very, very proud of that.
So
yeah, because it was a big very early on. You know, because he did. His dad didn't help him. He did. So, yeah,
So
I was very
you
proud of
both
it.
from the beginning started going to the track with your dad, being around cars and motors, and
It was like a family thing.
You didn't have a
Yeah.
choice. I mean, when you're
Yeah,
a
we
kid,
have to
you're-
go.
I mean,
you're going.
yeah, you're
You're
gonna go
going-
there with grandma's.
well, it's
I'm
like,
not
yeah,
going to grandma's.
Our family vacations were all to racetracks. Like we went to Daytona, 79. Him and I wanted to go to like to SeaWorld. Dad goes, we don't have time. We got to go to race. You know, so it's like we're all the way here. So but we went to, you know, I don't regret it. It was fun. You know, he made up for it.
I'll tell you what, this is kind of not really off subject, but I got to say this real quick. The guy was so ate up with the racing. I don't remember what year it was, but I was a little bitty kid. We were talking to Karen about it the other day. Middle of winter time, and we always used to go to Daytona. My dad's like, man, there's a race in Arizona, and he wanted to go. And so we all load up, man. He just takes me, Lisa, Mom, throws us in the car.
Yeah, Tucson.
We head to
Yeah.
Arizona. We have no idea where we're going. He's like, we're going to
No
racetrack.
house, no nothing.
No, not when we moved there. I'm talking
No
about
place
when we
to
went to
live.
race. But
Yeah.
so we drive all the way out there, and we get there, and you can't find this racetrack.
Oh yeah, I could
And-
all right.
We stop at a couple gas stations, and I'm like, Dad, you don't know where we're going? No. Well, all we could find was a dog track. So you know where the story's going. We drove all the way to, I
I
think,
remember that now.
Tucson, Arizona.
I remember that now, I remember
races,
that now.
And it was a dog race.
It's a race. It's a race.
That's how
That's
bad he
dirt
wanted to go
road.
racing. I mean, I'm like, man, are you kidding? So we turn around and come home. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is awesome, ain't it? Yeah. I mean, just,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's the desire and dedication that the guy had. He would help anybody. He didn't have to run his stuff. I mean, he just loved it nonstop. I mean, he would spend his last dollar, and it's just, you know, he used to get so mad at me when I was racing. He's like, man, I think you have the talent, you just don't have the dedication. I'm like, Dad, it doesn't mean as much to me as it does to you, you know, so.
Mm.
He thought, yeah, a lot of times
And-
he did it. He
And like
did
I
it
said, a
for
lot
that,
of times
so.
when we raced growing up, I mean, I raced my whole life at something, and his desire to win was, I mean, that's all he cared about it, where I wanted to do other things, and then we would fight about it. So when you live with the guy, you work with the guy, I mean, so you're going to go racing, because he told me more than once, if you don't like it, get out. I'm like, what does he mean? He's like, you talking about job? I mean, so he was a diehard when it came to racing.
Yeah, well, that kudos to whoever wrote this quote. It came in the induction information, but the quote under Don Burlington was, "Racing is in his blood, no matter the style, and high performance engines have been his heartbeat."
Yep.
I think that's kind of ties into exactly what
That's
you
who
were
he
talking
was.
about.
That's who he was.
When did you get into doing photography, Lisa? You've been all around racing, and then you just decided to pick up the camera.
Well, I've always done it, but it was not racing.
Uh,
As a matter of fact, I didn't get back into it to 2008 when he started racing Lakeside, because I got burned out, because every time you go on family trips, it was to racetrack. I'm like, there's got to be something else.
Not in his eyes.
There's got to be something else. And it's like, so I let him do my little thing for 20 years, and I came back, and then now I can't get enough of it. And I can't drive a car, and I definitely
You
can't.
could,
I'll
you
be-
could.
well,
I told you, we can arrange that.
Well, he tried to get my Cavalier to make it into a dirt
Wow.
demon. I said, I'm not driving a dirt demon if I'm going
Be
to drive
mine.
anything. No.
Got to be
But-
rear wheel drive.
Yeah. Yes. But no, I just, I wanted to contribute to it because it meant so much to Dad. It meant so much to our family. It was just who we were and who we are still, even though he's passed. So I just thought, I just wanted to bring the local scene. Because, because the crowds are not there as much as they used to be. So I thought, I have fun. And it just got more serious, and I got more into it, and then he started really supporting me with it because I can't, like I said, I can't build a motor.
Mhm.
So that was just my contribution. As far as the Burlington name goes, I still want to keep it going,
Right.
even though he's not into it. He doesn't build anymore. So one of us has got to be there.
Well, you're definitely keeping the
Trying.
racing, the Burlington legend alive in
And it's-
racing,
I-
that's for sure.
I plan on as long as I can. And
She is a diehard. I mean,
Yes.
she is
He
my
used to-
dad. I mean,
he used to say, he's like,
Yeah.
he always teased me. He goes, "So you going to the races today?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "Okay." And he knew I was lying. I went more than he did, and he was just like, "Yeah, didn't I?" I was like, "I totally went more than he did." It's just because his health changed, so he couldn't do
Sure.
as much as he wanted to.
There's a lot of brilliant engine builders and engineers and minds in racing. Your dad really seems to stand out in people's hearts and minds, and the impact that he's had. What would you attribute to that factor that you know there's other people that may have had as equivalent of hand skills, but there's something about your dad that meant something to people.
Heart. That's the first thing I think. I mean, he cared. It wasn't about making a dollar, because obviously he didn't make enough doing what I thought it was worth. Just heart. I mean, the guy just loved racing in general. I mean, it was who he was. I mean, when my mom and dad got married, he told her, you know, let's hurry this thing up because we got to go to the racetrack. I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me.
He went to the drag strip the night they got married.
So, and very competitive guy. I mean, he just, and what people don't really know is behind the scenes of what he's done for people that you don't even know that he even knew. I mean, people that I went to school with, he's taught how to build engines that have their own businesses now, and I mean, it's just crazy. We could go on, and he never pointed his finger back at him, like, you know, me. No, it was always about, oh man, do you see that guy over there? He was fast tonight, or you know, this or that. I remember it was actually funny since Mark's sitting here. It's like I remember when I wanted to do the spec-headed deal before anybody else did in Kansas City. My dad loved port and still heads, and yeah, obviously the spec-headed rule, you can't touch them. Mark goes out there and wins the heat race. He goes, "Did you see that 34 car?" I'm like, "Dude, okay, yeah, I saw him." I'm like, you know, we've raced him, and there's no, you know. He just kept, you know, basically saying that the steel-headed deal was better. I'm like, dude, we'll see, you know. But it's just crazy that no matter what rule came, he always was like one step ahead, you know. And like I said, we raced with Aaron Morant, and you know, me and Aaron still talk about it. We didn't do race that much this past year just because our desire. Because me and Aaron, I don't want to call us lazy, but my dad was a motivator. You know, he would actually, you know, crack the whip on. We're like, boys, are we racing or are we going to talk? I'm like, and me and Aaron can actually talk ourselves out of it, you know, like, oh, there's something else to do. But like I said, it's just he just loved the sport, man.
I mean, it was so much, even when he got sick. I mean, and even though he was not well enough to go and help, when they were working on the motor, him and Aaron, he goes, I can come over and sit down. Just give me a chair. I'll sit down and I'll supervise.
Yeah, exactly. Supervise. Again, still.
See, he wanted to be, but he still wanted to be very much part of it.
Yes.
Even though he physically could not do it, he goes, just give me a wrench. I could just sit there and do it. He was just so much loved it that he, even in his sickest times, he still wanted to be involved.
That's great.
So
I think one of my first.
There's a question.
Okay, we got a question from
Lawrence Waters.
From Lawrence Waters. Hey, Larry.
Lawrence. I know Larry.
Was he one of the owners of B&H, and when did he retire building motors?
Was he one of the owners of B&H?
One of the owners of B&H.
No, I don't know what B&H stands for, but no.
And did he retire building motors?
Yes. He sold his business about 3 years ago.
Yeah, one of the videos I remember when I first saw your dad was, you might have been in it actually, but it was in the shop. And they were working on a block, and he had a metal mallet, was kind of not using a lot of finesse. We'll say that.
Right.
And he's like, you know, we do everything we can to make these things as smooth as possible.
Oh, I
and
know,
you do everything you can to go.
And mess it up. Yeah, I know what you're saying. He was saying that to Gibby.
That was Gibby.
About
That was his
how
best
he honed
friend.
the block to make it smooth as glass, and these guys, you know, let it out in the rain. He's like, dude, I spent days doing this, and I do everything I can to make this perfect, and then you do everything else pretty much to jack it up.
Beep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He seems like he had a good sense of humor. And, a lot of passion, obviously, for the sport. So. Any other stories you want to get out there for the fans?
He's
got a lot. I wouldn't even know where to begin, to be honest with you, because like I said, the only thing I could tell people is that we've done so many different types of racing. I remember one time, what started the lakeside for me is I raced go-karts across the street at Thunder Lake, and one time I think he was somewhere, and somebody asked him, like, I heard you guys are going to go to, you know, lakeside racing A-Mod. And they're like, yeah. And like, well, first of all, you're crazy, but whatever. They're like, well, who's going to build your motors? And he's like laughing. He goes, well, who do you think? You know, I mean, so what I'm saying is it's funny because not taking anything away from dirt track racing, but in performance technology, they're beyond times compared to like drag racing cars. And for years, I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years on and off, you know, engine-wise, and he has been doing it his whole life. So it's just, you know, it was just funny when somebody would ask somebody like him, who's going to build your motor, you know? So I'm like, really? I mean, so.
Speaking of that, might want to mention he's being inducted into the Carb Hall of Fame this year, but he's already been inducted in 2012 into the Kansas City Drag Racing Hall of
Yes.
Fame.
Yeah.
So what an honor
Oh,
for
yeah.
your family.
He deserves it.
Was that for
Yeah.
driver, mechanic?
Mechanic, engine building.
Yeah.
I mean, we like we were talking earlier. I mean, this guy's done sprint car motor. Even like you said, Bobby Lane. I remember my dad helping Bobby Lane back, 25, 30 years ago. Gene Claxton got his start driving for my grandpa. I mean, there's so much history with our last name, and most of it's about him, so.
That's why we keep it going.
Awesome.
Keep it going.
You've mentioned Bobby Lane, Chad Goff. I remembered you were our guest last week, buddy. I left you out. Just apologize about that. So thank you for coming on. So,
We had one more question.
We have another
Somebody
question
asked,
for the live
Jay
stream?
Whitaker wanted to know if Donnie was ever going to race again.
You
No.
know, Jay.
I am done. I am done.
No more
You
racing
know,
for
Jay.
Donnie.
I mean, it's not it ain't about the desire. It's just, man, it's so expensive. And here's the deal. Even today, I mean, I haven't raced since basically 2014, once my kids were born, and I really couldn't afford to do it before they were here. Definitely can't afford it now. And here's the deal. Everything's expensive, and if you don't have the best product money can buy, I don't care who's driving it, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
So why would you go back to, I'm not.
Have a house or a car.
Exactly. I mean, so.
So, yeah.
And we're definitely going to be seeing you out of the tracks again this year.
Let's hope so, yeah.
Okay.
I hope so.
All right. Well, anybody else got any more questions they want to throw out for the Burlingtons here? He's being inducted. March 2nd is the Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame ceremony. So I believe there's still tickets available. If you're watching this, you have access to Facebook. Visit the Carb Hall of Fame page, and they'll have some information on there about how to get your tickets. I believe you can contact Karen Darling directly. So we appreciate you guys
Thank you,
coming
guys.
on.
Appreciate it.
It was an honor to interview you.
Thank you
Excellent.
for having
And,
us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Carol said to say hi to everybody.
Carol Burns.
Yeah.
Carol Burns says hi.
Okay.
This is kind of different, isn't it, being live?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, we appreciate the platform. I just
Absolutely.
wanted to I had a couple people contact me and be like, "Is this a weekly show? And is this a JD Lawson Media thing?" And no, this is Mike Kraft's baby. I'm basically just honored to be a part of it because it's about local racing. And hats off to Mike for getting this
Absolutely.
thing going. And he's was talking to me a few weeks ago about doing this and just pulled the trigger and did it. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah, because we know no other media is covering it, so I think it's awesome. I like it.
Oh, just
All right.
don't go off yet. Just a minute.
All
Okay.
right.
I think we've got a question.
Oh, another question from,
Oh,
the,
no.
from the live audience. They're getting
Yeah.
This can get
getting
scary.
rowdy on us.
Here's a question, Donnie. Did you ever race with Mark Chapman?
Oh, yeah. Lots
Oh,
of
yeah.
times. Many a times.
Was he the number 34?
Always been a
Always
34
been.
since I've known him.
'Cause I just saw some old pictures that the Reeds brothers had posted about it. I saw it's like, yeah.
Paula Wilson Murphy just wanted to say, Lisa, you do some amazing work,
Well, thank you, Paul.
and your tribute to Bud Wilson was fantastic.
You're welcome. It was my honor.
It's something she holds dear to her heart.
I'm glad. That's the whole purpose. That's the whole thing.
Right.
It's
right.
not just
Yeah.
making. It's not just for me.
Yeah.
This is not about me. So I want to make that clear. I do it for to support local racing, and get and it's about memories. It's about because once that moment's like when those guys are on the track or whatever, or they're sitting, getting weighed or whatever. It's like that moment's gone, and some of those are the best moments when they're not paying attention.
Exactly.
Well, we're
Right,
paying attention.
yeah.
We just don't get to see it.
Well, no, you're paying attention to something else.
Yeah.
You're not paying attention to me.
Right.
Yeah.
But
we
I
don't
mean,
want the pose.
no, I don't like those. I like the natural because, like, when even Mark, since we're pulling Mark in now.
Paula Wilson
He's-
Murphy.
Yeah.
She says thank you for all you do.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, my son
Question.
uses your pictures on his
I know.
cover story. He loves it.
And I don't mind it. There's some photographers that don't like. They like, oh, they're using my thing with my watermark. I could care less about that stuff. I mean, I consider it an honor
You're
that
not
people
making
would.
your living at doing it either, so.
Well, most of them don't. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm just glad to help out.
Okay.
Anything I can do for the sport. So,
All right. Well, thank you guys for
Thank you.
coming on.
Thank you.
thank you guys.
I
guess we're up, Mark. Man, you get the hot
Oh
seat
yeah,
in the
you
middle.
get the hot seat now.
You get the hot seat in the middle.
Yeah.
You've got your mark sheet there, don't you?
I do.
Good.
Guess I'll sit here.
I want to thank the Burlington family for being here. And by the way, on my cover page, I've got at least a Burlington photo. It's one of my favorite photos ever. Special moment. I got to carry the American flag at Lakeside for the Carl Tinsley Memorial Race. And I remember thinking, I hope Lisa gets this picture. So it was awesome. Thank you. Lakeside Speedway. That's a great place. A lot of us in the Kansas City area, of course, grew up at the old Lakeside. But I bet you, Mark, you don't even remember the old Lakeside, do you?
I was pretty young. I can remember being up on there's a couple terraces, like in the corners, and I can remember being real little and watching some sprint car races and stuff there. But I don't remember too much.
Those are good memories that you do have, though. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember heavy hitters back in the day coming to Lakeside. It was a huge venue. I mean, we had Jan Opperman, and of course, in the Kansas City area was the Weld family. I'm talking about sprint car racing, but you know, Bobby Lane is still kicking. Hi, Bobby. He's one of the pioneers of the IMCA modified movement that came to the old Lakeside. I think Lakeside had the first IMCA modifieds. Riverside Stadium brought modifieds in, and originally they were buddy, you got to claim your motor. For $350, the winner can claim your motor, or the people that finished on back could claim the winner's motor for $350.
Isn't that when Bobby Lane started building Ford motors
He
with Chevy
started
insides?
Building Ford motors, and he said that
Because he said nobody would buy them, said
He
nobody
said-
want them.
no, they'd be a good boat anchor, is what he said. But that's how modifieds got racing, and now we've got a young man here that's won the points championship at Lakeside, and we're just curious, how did you get started?
I started, from when I can first remember, I was always trying to race something before I was old enough to race, you know.
Street cars?
No,
Oh.
no street cars. I've got speeding tickets and stuff, so I guess,
A little bit.
starts like that. But I started racing motocross when I was 9 years old,
That's what I
and
thought.
it kind of evolved from there. As you get older, you can't really afford to be broken up, so kind of get in something with a roll cage and take your chances with that, and just kind of keep snowballing from there. And it just
That's a good thing.
kind of got me where I'm at right now. So
That-
A lot of kids have stayed out of trouble because of a race car.
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's pretty much how you got into dirt oval racing. Then was you switched over from motocross. What was the first car that you owned?
The first race car that I had was a Grand National. It was built by Bobby Watkins out of Leavenworth, and Gary and Vicky Davis. They were kind of like real good friends with my dad, and they were the people that really like kind of pushed us to kind of, hey, try this car racing and stuff, and it kind of went from there, and it
Yeah.
and
How'd the
been
first
fun.
race go? Was
First
it a
race was-
disaster?
it was pretty crazy. I mean, there was a lot of wrecks, and opening night at Lakeside, I actually ended up finishing like 5th or something,
Oh,
because
really?
I stayed out of trouble and just didn't get in a wreck.
Yeah.
I wasn't fast enough to wreck, I don't think, the
Yeah.
first night. So
I have to ask you, was Marshall Jewett in there?
oh yeah, yeah.
'Cause-
I think I actually bumped into him my very first night, but yeah, I raced against Marshall for a long time.
I was gonna say he did Grand Nationals for a long time. It
Yeah.
seems like, yeah.
So as far as modifieds, did you start out directly in the A mod?
Yeah, because I ran Grand National for 2 or 3 years, and then we bought one of Chad Lyle's A mods, and then just kind of started from there. And
What year was that you got Chad's car?
that would have been like 2004.
Now you say we. Who is we? I think I know, but who is we?
My dad,
Yeah.
and I. Yeah, I couldn't do it without him. I mean,
Yeah.
he like Little Don was saying, he's a big motivator of mine,
Uh-huh.
and couldn't
So you got Chad Lyle's race car used. Did you buy it fresh off the track, or did Chad have time to take some stuff off that car? Do you remember?
I really don't know. Like, we just went to his shop in the wintertime, and he had like 3 cars sitting in there, and started just talking to him. We was gonna do a new Grand National, and he actually talked us into to actually going A-mod racing. He and it was probably one of the best changes that I made, and I mean I think that we didn't go wrong. It's just it's costly, but then it seemed like there was bigger paying races spread out among a bunch of tracks and stuff. And what was nice is you could go rule wise anywhere. The rules were real friendly to where you could race multiple tracks rather than just a few.
Kind of what they're kind of trying to do now, so to speak.
Well, I can tell you this, Mark. I've raced myself, but you did the right thing. You bought a car from somebody who's a proven winner, and I hope that, and knowing Chad, I'm sure he helped you along to get you started with setups and such.
Yeah.
And it's better to start out your racing career in something that'll actually turn and do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
A lot of guys fight an ill-handling car and race many years, and they're still not winning races.
Yeah, I think it's always good to kind of go with something that's proven, someone that has some knowledge behind it and is willing to share that knowledge, because to jump into it like the unknown, this racing's so technical anymore that you can't, it's almost impossible. You're going to have someone helping you along and feed you information of some sort to really get started right.
Probably a lot of those chassis builders too probably won't help you that much with an old chassis. They're probably just interested in the new customers, aren't they?
I mean, it's kind of a mixed deal. I mean, some of your bigger chassis builders, it seems like they always want to sell you a new chassis. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I mean, they're in that business to sell the chassis and stuff. Yeah. But like when I was running Bill's Boat cars, Bobby Bills, he was always like just real. Like I still talk to him even on stuff, and he's real informational. Like if I don't know something, he always helps me a little bit, and he's not like the type of person to upsell you. And he's just a true just down racer. So that's what you'll find. There's so many. Burlington family, for instance. I mean, just true grit racers that have done it the hard way and done it the right way, and that's just what the racing it'll bring the best out in people. Sometimes, I mean, and it brings the worst out in people, but it still, I mean, you'll meet amazing people. I mean, hands down.
Talking about chassis builders, I think Tim Carrick had a hotline to Shyhawk when he was running the Skyrocket cars. Seems like in the pits all the time I'd see him on the phone talking to Kelly about setups out there.
So this 2018 season, what chassis won that championship for you? Who was the winning team? Who are all your helpers, your sponsors?
It was a GRT modified. Man, my main supporters, like my mom and dad, they, like I said, I couldn't do it without them. They're a big force behind me. I mean, and then they got Vicky Davis. She sponsored me this last year, and ARI All-State Renovations. They've always been a big supporter of my racing for many years, and J&L Synthetics and AMS Oil. They've always, like, last 10, 15 years, I've had help from them. Richard Hanning Trucking, Ronnie Pierce, he helped me out this year, and Sammy Schuler, and there's the list goes on. I know I'm forgetting a ton of people.
I was gonna say it takes quite a few, don't it?
Yeah, and they're all just so huge. I mean, the Burlingtons. I mean, it's not like just the people that helped you, like say this last year. It's the people from year one. It's the list goes on because they might not have helped you this year, but through the years, you've carried that information from year to year to where it as a whole makes a huge difference.
So who is your current engine builder?
Bobby Heater was current engine builder, and he's been good.
Bobby Heater's really feels a good street stock, or
Yeah. Yeah.
he knows how to go
Brett.
fast.
Yeah.
Brett wheels it pretty well.
We got a question from Larry Waters. He says, congrats on the 2018 season. Do you use a spare head something in the trunk? Minute?
It's funny.
Mounted. He said you can tell a story.
Mounted.
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 Oh yeah, there's a
Spare-
story behind that.
Spare head mounted in the trunk.
Yeah.
Larry Waters won one night, and
He's the junkyard dog. He knows
Oh,
all
yeah.
about spare heads mounted in the trunk.
he won one night, and it just cracks me up. And he won one night, and he got DQ'd because he had like cylinder heads bolted down in the trunk for weight instead of lead. And yeah, that's Larry Waters. I mean, he's
That's our Pinewood Derby tech guy.
he's definitely a character for sure.
Those kind of habits begin in go-kart racing. I know kids used to hide tools in their driver's suit to make them heavier. So get those habits early, and it's hard to get rid of them.
Yeah.
So how long has it actually taken? I mean, you know, they always talk about in show business how it's an overnight success. In racing, I know it takes usually way longer than that, but how long has it taken you to get to this point where you were actually competitive enough and good enough to win a championship in A mods?
You know, I think it's a lot of it's being at the right place at the right time. A lot of luck is involved with winning.
We heard that last week, didn't we?
And I mean, you got to field good car and stuff, but you got to have luck be on your side at the same time. And I don't know, like I never feel like you're ever gonna ever quit learning racing and evolving, I should say. But it's taken a long time.
How old are you, Mark?
35.
I was going to
I
say,
thought you were younger.
I referred to you as one of the young guns, so to speak.
I'm actually getting old considering some of the, you know, you get Trevor Hunt and some of those guys out there. And it's like, wow.
But I think the thing that I see, Greg and Mark, at Lakeside, I think particularly, I'd say in the last 2, maybe 3 years, Lisa, you've been there that much, but the face of the A-Mod class is changing. I mean, there again, I say it's been Carrick and Davis, and Chad Lyle, of course, was in there, involved for quite a while, but we've got some younger guys now that are starting to.
In all the modified divisions, the B and the E, there's just some fantastic competition in them.
Yeah.
And Lakeside in itself is like the hornet's nest. I mean, you're in there where the best of the best race at Lakeside on a Friday night.
I mean, after all this year, you were competing some of the time against the USRA champion, Darren Fuqua.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I've seen a lot of the backside of his car. It's, I guess just being able to see it's a bonus.
Do you get off of the half mile ever?
Yeah, this last year we raced I-35 quite a bit. We ran that the Hot Summer Series that Prime Racing put on between Lakeside and I-35, and we actually ended up winning the points deal in the series.
Did you really?
In the A-Mod, but had a lot of luck go our way.
Yeah.
We won one of the races at Lakeside, and just kind of consistent, had real consistent runs. But
well, if you went to 35 and you did anything against Dennis Elliott, I thought that was the name, but I thought it was wrong.
Yeah.
Why, if you can do anything against that guy up there,
he's pretty
you're
dominant.
doing something, because man, he's got that track figured out without a doubt.
Yeah, and he's a super nice guy. I talk to him quite a bit when I'm up there.
He really is.
He helps me out quite a bit. So,
was there anything in particular that you can pinpoint that you did this year that helped you, get to this point? I mean, like you say, what was it? Kevin Anderson said, I never cut a tire the whole year. Not one tire. But, I mean, was there anything you did different? Did you drive different? More maintenance on the car? Because that's one of the things I heard about Fuqua. Curtis was telling me that they were talking to Lance Towns, I think, Curtis. And he said that he thought the biggest thing that they did was they had good maintenance on the car all year.
Yeah, maintenance is definitely a big key. And, like, my dad's a stickler on maintenance. Like
Yeah.
he'll take the dang thing apart every week, and I'm like, why do you got to take that apart? Well, I just got to check this.
Does
And,
this sound familiar, Curtis?
I got to check this, and you know, a good story. There was a couple races from the end of the season, and he was taking the rear hubs apart and stuff, and got to looking at the brake rotors, and they were like cracked, spidered all over.
Oh my!
You know, and that could have been pretty catastrophic if, you know, they would end up breaking, you know. I mean, it's a kind of common deal with the way modifieds use brakes nowadays and stuff.
You say you use them quite a bit, don't you? Because, man, I mean, I see them things glowing sometimes.
Yeah, and it, I mean, it just wears things out quicker, you know, and it's finding little key things like that, you know, keeps you from having that DNF that night.
Right.
And those DNFs definitely hurt and make it tough.
Because I didn't write it down on here, I forgot, but I think you had 2 wins in like 4 or 5 seconds and about the same on the thirds. But I think you and Kerry Davis were also the only 2 that had run all 16 races for the summer, if I remember right.
Yeah, I'd like to see the car count pick back up, you know, and it'd be nice to see it back like 2001, 2002, you know, where there was full fields. And
same way with fans.
Yeah, and it's well, and you know, and it's things like this. Like, I appreciate you guys doing this stuff, because it takes that and, you know, any kind of outlet to bring a new fan into it, or even a new racer, for that means that it's like all these steps. It's huge.
Yeah, I wish we had some other outlets, because in a way I sometimes feel like we're preaching to the choir, as the saying goes, because they're race fans already, but it's trying to get out there and get those new people. And didn't get to touch on it last week, but Tim Powell was talking to me about that and had some really good ideas. I wish we'd had time to actually get into some of that, but like you say, man, we got to get out of some new markets, younger people. I don't know what it is, but
well, you mentioned car counts at Lakeside. Do you ever have an inclination to go to a USMTS show and try to run, or do you have the equipment at level that you think you could do that?
Yeah, I mean, everything's gonna have to be like working just perfect, you know, and going into it knowing that, you know, that we got all of our ducks in a row, per se.
Do those guys just have bigger budgets and have more people on the staff? Because it seems like they are good at every race. I mean, I don't care what track you go to.
Yeah,
I mean, they are on.
They definitely, and they race 70 weeks, 70 races a year.
And you got to have a trailer like that too.
Those trailers don't win the races, but
Dad's gonna have to get a second job,
win the lottery or something. No, I mean, we've tried, and we went to some of the races, and I mean, there's some nights we've fared. I mean, a couple top 10s and stuff. And there was one time at Lakeside I was running second with like 10 laps to go and broke, but you know, and it's that's part of racing. It you know, I think on a good night, like, I think any weekly person can run with them. You just got to have everything going your way too. You got to have some luck and have the car right and everything. So
are you pretty much focused on Lakeside for 2019?
It's kind of up in the air. Like, I'm kind of probably going to scale the racing back a little bit. It's kind of it's not set in stone. Just kind of going to sit back and see how things play out. Like, I'm planning on building a house this summer, so that slows things up, and try to get some racing in for sure. It's just I don't have nothing really set in stone.
Well, does the decision with them going with the USRA rules but not sanctioning, does that have anything to do with it?
No, I mean, it's always, I think it's always kind of nice to be sanctioned, you know, and have some kind of sanctioning, backing, points funds, and that kind of thing. But I think this is a time where tracks got to kind of do as they see fit to be able to survive. I don't want to see any track close up is the big thing, and
I'm not sure an A modified class would survive at a racetrack without the sanction.
yeah.
I think that it's a blessing that we've got the A mods that we do.
Right. Yeah, that was getting kind of thin here toward the end of the year between money and
Sure put on a good show.
breaking down.
Just overwhelming to watch you guys at Lakeside.
Yeah.
And
Heather Reaver wants to know the story behind your car number.
Behind my car number, it's just when I raced motocross, that was my number, motocross. So I kind of carried that over, and it really didn't have no significance. Just just one of my favorite numbers for some odd reason, and I just always stuck with it. So
34 is a cool number. It's like
yeah, I like it.
Consecutive.
I mean, I'm a little biased myself, but
I think we kind of covered this. I'm getting old, my memory's not near as good. Tell us about the car. We know it's a GRT. What shock package, and did we say who was building the motors?
Yeah.
We did.
We got all that covered, but we
Yeah.
do want to know about his shock secrets. Do you build your own shocks?
Well, I think
I don't.
You can talk about them.
that's a whole nother technology. That's,
Oh my!
we could spend hours talking about that. And it's
Well, they're
it's
such an
endless.
important part of the car anymore. You can't
Yeah.
hardly race without them. I mean, and be competitive.
Yeah, one shock being messed up will make you pull your hair out.
Sure will. Yeah.
I actually have CSI shocks by Bob Harris,
Yeah.
who I've had the best luck with,
Yeah.
and everything. So I kind of sticking with that. And
Well, that's part of that maintenance routine. You bump a wheel or somebody with somebody every week, and you go home, work on the car. Best thing to do is pull the shocks off and make sure they're still straight and roll them on the ground. And
yeah,
your dad still helps you with all that?
oh yeah.
Where's
Yeah.
your guys' shop? Maybe we shouldn't tell him.
No, it's in Edwardsville. It's
Edwardsville,
where I live, and it's
But did
just a
you,
little 2-car garage. And
Yeah. Did you grow up there?
yeah,
Where did you go to high school?
Bonner Springs.
Bonner Springs.
Yeah.
Sportsman in high school?
Little bit. Played a little baseball. But not. I was more just a motorsports person
Yeah.
overall. So and it's kind of hard to dedicate. You can't dedicate yourself a bunch of different ways. It's
Mhm.
like you got to do it in the racing.
Mm-hmm. I've always felt like conditioning had to be a big part of racing too, because I mean, you're on the edge all the time. I mean, your brain's working at 90 miles an hour. And, of course, like Kevin was saying last week, he said, man, you can have a injury or a hurt or something. And he said, once you get in the cockpit, you never feel a thing. I think it was like Tom Charles used to say, once he gets in the sanctuary, I think he called it. He said everything else goes away.
Adrenaline takes over.
Yeah. But, of course, that would have to be one of the things for the young guys. Like I say, man, you'd have the stamina and whatever, because most of your races are pretty much all, 25 laps pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, and it seems Lakeside, it seems like 25 laps feel like 50 anywhere else.
Oh.
Kind of, the speeds kind of, I guess, make you hold on a little tighter.
Have you ever smacked the wall out there real good?
Oh, yeah, a few times. More than I'd like, that's for sure.
Is the complexion of that track changing? I have, I think, heard several racers in the last couple of years say that the track, they've prepared it a lot drier than what they used to, say, 3-4 years back. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, definitely.
More hard packed drier?
Yeah, they keep it a lot drier, which some aspects is nice. It's real abrasive on tires.
Yeah.
You go through a lot of tires, it seems.
How long they last you? In an A-mod?
Sometimes just one race.
Now, is that all track, or is that sometimes when you miss a setup and you're scrubbing a tire?
I think Lakeside overall, for the speed and the way the dirt is, it's just really abrasive, and it's hard on tires overall.
Well, would you rather be hard on tires or hard on your motor?
I'd rather it be hard on tires any
I
day.
agree with
so,
that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that the slicker track is a
Wheel
good.
spin?
It's a good answer. Yeah, it kind of levels the competition a little bit,
Yeah.
and I think the dust is a huge issue though. They've got to get
Yeah.
it just right.
Yeah, because the fan don't like to come out and get.
Bunny Whistler's doing the dirt work over there, and I'm sure that he's got it down to a science. You're not paying him off, are you? What track condition do you prefer?
I'm kind of all over the place. I mean, years ago I used to like it heavy as can be, and I kind of favored that. And you know, these last few years, the slicker it gets, I'm starting to get a better handle on that. I'd say. You think you got a good handle on it, and then the USMTS guys come in and they'll really show you where you stand. But it, you know, overall, I think you kind of adapt to whatever the track's doing. But it, you know, the last few years, I think the drier the track, probably the better.
Yeah.
Do you feel comparison-wise that you have the motor that Carrick has, or some of the other drivers, the top cars over there?
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I think anymore. A lot of people are all generally running similar combinations. It's I think it's more just being able to put the power down on the track. You know, it's not so much you got to have the biggest horsepower or anything. Because I mean, I've seen crate motors go out there and really run fair well, and you're kind of scratching your head like,
How do you do that?
how does this work?
How do you do that?
It's
It doesn't make sense.
I'm a late model racer, and you guys have had a quick change now for several years, but do you find that as a good track tuning option to maybe take some gear out of the car on a slick condition like that, or do you leave the same gear in all the time? What do you do as far as gears?
I mean, seems like the short tracks you'll change it a lot more, but it seems like Lakeside's more of a momentum thing, so you kind of find a few ratios you like try to stay around and don't really mess with that too much. I'm kind of all over the map on gears. Sometimes you put gear in it, sometimes you take it out. It's like it's that's kind of a confusing thing, and from driver to driver, everyone will have their whole different opinion on that.
Well, it definitely takes an educated foot when you get a drier track like that. It's easy to light the tires up and lose some spots. You've got it going on. You're doing something right.
Yeah.
I got lucky.
How many features did you win this year?
2.
Two, and won the
2.
championship.
Yeah. I saw your dad out of the T-Bones game. I think there was either 2 or 3 weeks left, and was talking to him, and he was telling me, he didn't actually say you guys were playing for rain, but he was hoping maybe 1 or 2 of them last shows might not get in, and I think one of them did get rained out, as I recall. But
yeah, it seemed like at the end of the year, weather wasn't cooperating with anyone.
Yeah,
I'm wanting some opinions here on. I love the video thing that we're doing here. I've always been fascinated with watching the videos from week to week, and I'd have my crew guy video and stay on focus on my car. Who's that sound like? But then go home and review the video. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, or a lot of times my dad'll. He's kind of his own video, and he'll see it how he sees it. You're doing this wrong, or you're doing this wrong. And maybe sometimes I think just having an actual video would probably be better. But I've done it a few times, but it's not a every week tuning kind of thing.
Well, where I'm going with this, I'm a movie fanatic, and there's a movie coming out, Trading Paint, and people are already commenting that it's not going to be technically correct from a racer's viewpoint, but in comparison, I think something that is technically correct. You ever watch Dirt Nights?
Yeah.
I mean, you got some darn good drivers on there. They're producing that whole thing themselves. They follow their
Bowman's,
their
two
car,
Bowman brothers, I think, are their producers.
Jason Walla and Corey Drips, and it's mainly up north. But I think that's a great show.
Hunter Marriott.
Yeah, Hunter Marriott, who's a Missouri boy.
Yeah.
But I like to watch that stuff.
Yeah.
And you can learn a lot, and it's kind of out in the open now more what people due to their cars.
Yeah.
Used to have a lot of tarps on the back of the car or wheel covers, but I appreciate you sharing what information you have.
I got a story. I was going to shoot I think it was a Father's Day special with Kerry Davis and his dad. And before we ever started, Kerry told me, he says, now no pictures under the car. He said, I seen you do one with, I can't think of his name now, B-Mod driver. But he said you showed almost every piece of suspension he had on that car.
Yep.
And he says, no pictures under the car. He said, that's an agreement. And I said, okay. But there is a lot to protect because, like you say, man, the technology is just getting really crazy.
It is.
Absolutely stupid out there.
It's really, and I think in the last couple of years, it's changing a lot on just how we set these things up. It's just a whole nother learning curve to try to keep up with. And
I presume there's a bunch of rear steer.
It's kind of all over the map. Like,
Right.
I mean, some scenarios there is, and sometimes there's not. It's
really?
It's
Not ride wheelies very much.
yeah. No, it's like everything's chained down. Like, it's more like trying to drive a go-kart rather than drive something with suspension the way everyone wants to set them up. So
I'll be darned. Well, Mark, man, it's been a pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed it because we certainly have. I feel like I've got a little better insight into who Mark Chapman is. Man, I've driven by you on my scooter I don't know how many times in the pits and wave or stop and say hi, but I never really got to talk to you very much, and appreciate you taking the time to come over and be on the show with
I
us.
appreciate the opportunity to
You got
do
it,
this,
man.
and I love what you guys are doing for local racing.
We're going to try to
Great
keep her
job.
going.
Thank you, Mark.
We are
you.
actually going to take just a small break, and Tucker Klaasmeyer should be calling in here in a little while, but I think I'm going to get a drink and refresh myself or whatever, and we'll be back probably here in just a few minutes if you all just hang with us.
Blythe Boney says a great kid right there.
Who did that?
Blythe Boney.
Blythe Boney?
Called him a kid.
I had a question that wasn't asked. Besides your first race, what race that you have won was most important to you, or meant the most to you?
They're all important. Like, probably the first race that I won in my Grand National at Lakeside. I came around after I won the race, and my dad, he's like run out on the track, and I thought I was gonna run him over, like, because he's like running towards me, and I couldn't react to it. Like, I was like, he's crazy.
He's a nut.
That's probably my most memorable
That
one.
was
And,
running out. That's what
and then there's been a few times where it was just we couldn't get no one to go racing with us, and it was just me and him. We won one up at I-35, and it was just me and him. So that means a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Very cool.
I've got big feet. I'm the announcer out of the valley if you ever get a chance to come out. No A mods, of course you probably know that.
Yeah. That's what every once in a while I'll run a B mod and stuff. And I think I might do some B mod racing this next year or something too. But
I think we're about ready to go.
We'll introduce you and we'll go from there. All right. Thank you, sir.
Tucker, how are you doing?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. We're trying this format. This is like the third week, and we're glad that you're a call-in interview tonight. I recommended that Mike get a hold of you because, first of all, I've heard your name affiliated through Sweet Springs. A lot of you young drivers came up through there, and it's building some great racers.
Yeah, I used to run there quite a bit.
Well, we'll get into a little bit of that. We'll get into the midget season for you in 2019. Congratulations on making the Chili Bowl. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, thanks, man. That was pretty cool to finally do.
Well, it's a great honor to race in the Chili Bowl. I mean, there's a lot of cars, a lot of competition, the best of the best.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
And you have managed to arrive in style with Keith Coons. We're going to take our time here if you can, and kind of explore this thing from top to bottom. I mean, people, if they haven't heard your name by now, they're hiding under a rock. But at Valley, you've been there. I'm the announcer at Valley, and I love it when Power Eye comes in. I get to
put on a good show at Valley.
Get to turn over the microphone, and I get to watch. And
yeah, there you go.
I'm a good friend with Bob Penn, and we're up there.
Oh, yeah.
We're up there hollering for you, and you're a local driver in our eyes, but you're much more than that. You received quite a status with your Power Eye season in 2018.
Oh, thanks.
And I guess you were introduced to racing by your dad and your uncle. Were they fans, or were there other racers in your family? How did this all happen?
I'm the first, Klaasmeyer to race. My Uncle Jerry raced, back in the day. But then, no one in my family had a race car for quite some time, so probably kind of first generation, I guess. I think Jerry raced back, way back in the day, without roll cages and stuff like that. So they were mainly just fans as I was growing up. That's how I knew them. I knew them as fans, and we never really had too many aspirations to do it. And we went to Sweet Springs and decided we were going to go for it.
So did you grow up in Paola?
Yeah. I went to Paola High School, and I grew up in Paola my whole life.
Well, there was, even before my time, a racetrack there in Paola. Is that where your Uncle Jerry raced?
Oh, man.
Or did you even know about the racetrack?
No, I know he's ran out of I-70.
I see.
Maybe Warrensburg back in the day.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's back in the day is a lot.
Were you busy in the pits with them then? I guess you went with them.
No, I probably wasn't even born yet.
I don't think that he saw it.
It's probably been 40 years.
Oh, okay.
Say.
He's only 22.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, 23, yeah. So I don't really have any memories of that whatsoever.
So you were instinctively, no doubt, instilled with some racing in your blood. You went to Sweet Springs in, what, a 600? Is that how you started?
Yeah. We originally, when I was younger, we would always go to Lakeside, and we would go to 3 races a year, basically, at Lakeside, Knoxville, and Chilliwack. And there was that little go-kart track by Lakeside. I can't remember what it was called, but originally we were going to get a go-kart, and that never really happened, so we started with a 99 Factor 1, the restrictor class at Sweet Springs. Mm-hmm. And Bob Williams and Vince Williams, I'm sure you guys know them. They helped us out quite a bit.
Yeah, Bob Williams, I used to pit crew for when he was racing late models out at I-70 Speedway.
Oh, right on.
Man, he's amazing mind.
Bob is awesome.
Yeah, he can dial you in a heartbeat. Now, you've been around some good people.
He taught us a lot.
And what I'm finding interesting right now, a lot of these drivers, your teammates on the Coons team, came from outlaw karting, and which is mainly a California thing. We've had some outlaw karts here in the Midwest, but have you ever spent any lap time in one of those?
Actually, 2 years ago, I ran one time at Belle Claire, which probably isn't the most ideal track for an outlaw car, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. They're so quick, and the one I ran had an older Honda motor. But it was a lot of fun. It was cool to get behind the seat of one. We had to slow down the steering on it and a couple other things, but it was a good time.
Yep. Well, those guys that are driving those, that's like the bucking bronco set of racing.
I was pleasantly surprised. They're not as rough as they look. I think the biggest reason they look so rough is because the cage part isn't actually attached to the chassis, like the go-kart.
Right, yeah, they're kind of on a bushing.
Springs, and it looks so much more rough than it really is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's where Larson and Rico Abreu and all those guys got their seat time early on. And then the micro crew, the group that you're affiliated with, is another great way to get started in midget racing. The midgets would make an appearance at Sweet Springs. Did you have your first midget race appearance there, if I may ask? And
No, I think my very first midget race was probably Grain Valley. I ran the USAC show at Sweet Springs last summer. I ran a micro too that night. Didn't have a ton of luck. We started on the front row of the micro race, got taken out entering turn one. So
there's a
brought back a lot of memories from that one.
Your boyhood heroes were guys like Steve Kinzer and Sammy Swindell and Jeff Gordon. Did you ever get a chance to see Jeff actually race a midget?
No, I never did. Those guys are still my heroes, so I love watching them.
I was pretty fortunate. I was pretty fortunate. I got to see Jeff win the Belleville Midget Nationals. I don't remember what year that was.
Yeah, I bet that was awesome.
I mean, that guy was up around the guardrail. I mean, that's why you have to run Belleville. I mean, there couldn't have been, maybe foot and a half of cushion there if there was that much. I mean, they was bumping the rear tire off of it.
It was definitely a different time, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, those were kind of guys I watched growing up. Wolfgang, throw him in there, but
heck yeah.
You're building your fan base likewise, young man. I mean, that's
I'm trying.
That's incredible. People are going to remember this Chili Bowl this year. And, it's just like I remember when I was 17 years old, Sammy Swindell, Steve Kinzer would come to Saline County Speedway in Marshall, Missouri. I got to watch those guys, and it's a lifetime thing. When you see somebody like that race, you're building a fan base that hopefully will come and watch whenever they can. See you, they follow your schedule, and man, you're going to go places. I just want to encourage you to.
Thank you.
Man, it's just awesome where it's led you so far.
Yeah. How did Keith Coons actually find out about you, or did you make a job application, or what?
No, so. We ran midgets. I ran with Flea Ruzick and Austin Brown for 2 years before that, and there was nights we were really good. Even nights where I would say we were outrunning Keith's cars, and that one year we were at Speed Week, and I probably had we were leading in Jacksonville one night and broke a steel U-joint of all things, which was weird. And we went to Macon the next night and blew up. We spent all day putting in different motors, so it had different plumbing and everything, and went out to Lincoln, I guess, and it locked up. I was going down the backstretch running third. Luckily, I pulled out of gear. We saved that one, and that ended up being my motor for the next year after we got it fixed. But really, the thing when I got hooked up with Keith, we were at Shootout. Okay. I guess it'd be 2 years ago now, and
sounds okay.
I was running the Factor 1, and Dave Carrick, Tanner Blake's dad, was there, and they were running a Factor 1 with Jimbo too, and he had asked what we were doing the next year, and Dave's a really good guy, easy to talk to, and at that time I didn't really know. I knew I wanted to run more and this and that. He said, well, Keith, wondering what you're gonna do, and so I called Keith that night and told him I'd let him know by the beginning of the next week, and then I called him back about 10 minutes later, and we decided we were going to do it.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of stories out of the Keith Coons stable, and at the Chili Bowl he fielded 11 cars.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you got to meet each and are acquainted with each of those drivers. Is that?
Yeah, man. I think my favorite driver there's got to be Rico. He's awesome.
Did you buy the mullet hat?
I did. I bought one just to have one. I probably won't wear it, but I figured, man, this is pretty unique, so I went and got myself one.
Well, we wish we would have had you come here to be on the show. With you.
I wish I could have. It would have been a lot better, but now I'm kind of losing my voice, and we're on the phone, so it probably won't sound too great.
Oh, sounds good. Good.
Having a blast with you so far. I just hope we can keep your attention.
No worries.
Saw you at Valley. I saw many of your races at home on the OM TV or MAV TV, and it feels so good to see you win, if not just be a contender in the top 5. You're there every time, it seems like. That's how you win championships.
Yeah.
And
I just gotta step up my USAC program, and then we'll be good to go.
Yeah.
You're gonna do some USAC, are you?
I think we're gonna run everything like we did last year, except for this year on the conflicting shows. We'll be at the USAC shows, so I'm kind of kind of looking to chase that right now, as far as points goes.
You joined USAC to run the race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the dirt track this year.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
That had to be amazing. Was it?
Dude, it was honestly pretty unreal. Like, you don't really think about it when you're there, but even like now, like as you just said that, it kind of brings back like, yeah, we were at IMS getting to race, and it's pretty special.
Yeah.
Well, they built that track actually in the infield of the 2 Mile Oval, and I didn't get to go, but do you feel like that it's got enough seating capacity and that it will grow into something bigger than it is now?
You know, it actually was pretty amazing what they did with the crowd. So they had, you know, probably I would say fairly normal like dirt track size stands. They're pretty big, nothing huge, but they actually sold that out, and they were selling seats in the top rows outside of, I guess it would be, I think turn 3 at Indy. They were selling seats like behind the big track, so people could barely see, but they liked it so much that they wanted to hang out and watch, which is pretty awesome.
How was the track itself, Tucker? Was because usually a new track like that, and you know, first or second time you get out on it, they're kind of ruddy and soft. And well, what it reminds me of was a race down at the Dome. I love seeing that, but boy, that thing looked like a washboard, or only sideways or whatever, the long ways instead of going over. How was that track there at Indy the first time?
Yeah, it was actually really good, and you know, they were lucky enough, and I don't really know them, but I know they do a good job. They had the O'Connors from Kokomo Speedway doing all the track work, but the biggest problem was like practice night. It was awesome, and I think we qualified second out of like I don't remember how many cars there, over 100. So we had good speed there, but the Saturday, man, we had like a 3-hour rain delay, and they had skid loaders out there, shovels, brooms, I mean, you name it. And, you know, they got the thing pretty good. It was probably would have put on a better show had it not been so heavy, but at that time they didn't really have a choice. So, you know, for what it was and the circumstances that we had all day, I felt like it was really good.
So, have you gotten the full feeling of being an Indiana racer? Have you raced at those other tracks out there? I mean, there's some famous speed bowls in Illinois and Indiana. I mean, what's some of the other places in Indiana that you've raced?
We ran Kokomo, Bloomington, Putnamville, Gas City. You know, and the sad thing is I think half of them got rained out this year, which was really unfortunate.
Yeah, it was a wet summer.
Right.
Absolutely.
Oh, man, it was bad.
Yeah.
So the Power I schedule plus a USAC schedule, you got so many races you can go to. When does your season actually kick off? Are you going to Florida?
Yeah, we'll be in Florida. I think, I want to say...
February 8th and 9th.
We've got like 72 races on the schedule just with the midget.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I don't
midget
know.
racing is very healthy right now.
Yeah, I think Ocala is February 8th and 9th, USAC midgets.
Yeah, I believe you're right. Yeah, we'll be there.
So you're getting ready to go. Does the car get maintained at Keith Kuhn's shop, or do you have an operation there in Paola?
No, I actually, the only thing I have left in Paola, I still have, so we still have 2 rollers that we're trying to get rid of, and, you know, I had my own sprint car, and I was lucky enough, he lets me keep that in his shop, so, you know, it's not really looking like it this year, but when we get off weekends, we take that out, and I ran his sprint car one weekend.
I see.
So that's kind of fun, you know, it gives me something to do.
Well,
I try to help work on the midgets a little bit, but those guys have a pretty solid operation.
So everything there in Paola is your own personal stuff that's officially retired?
For the most part, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, one of the cars has only got 3 races on it, so it's been kind of hard to get rid of, but, yeah, you know, we have a couple framing bodies, and we actually acquired my championship frame and body to bring home. My dad likes to collect that stuff, so that's kind of neat. And, so we like to hang on to stuff like that. You know, at the end of the day, frame and body is kind of worth hanging on to, especially if it's a little bent or beat up.
It's man cave stuff.
According to this,
yeah, exactly.
according to what I see here, your first win in 2018 came at Belleville, Illinois. How many wins did you have last year as you finished second in the points to CV? That had to be a good win, though, that first one, man.
Yeah. You mean the year before I won the championship?
Yes, 2018. No.
0 national wins. I won a Power I West race and a race in Australia. Yeah, we kind of struggled, truthfully, in 2018. I don't know what it was. I think it was probably, looking back now, it's probably more mental than anything. You know, I tore up so much equipment motor-wise the year before. I was just nervous all year about hitting the rev limiter and things like that. So this year has mainly just been like a good confidence booster.
Yeah.
So we're into 2018. You really haven't quit racing. You're still racing. It's like it's been 2 or 3 weeks between races because you went to the Gateway Nationals and then you went to Perth Raceway in Perth Motorsports Park in Australia, which we want to get into that, and then in the Chili Bowl, and now you're going to Florida. So you haven't had much downtime.
No, I ran the shootout too.
In the shootout.
Yeah.
In a micro.
Mm-hmm.
Well, man, you're getting some action.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Australia thing and even personal little things. I mean, we want to know. We don't get to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I want to know how long a flight that was.
Oh, I tell you what, the flight is the worst thing. So, I don't want to be too long-winded, but I was lucky. My brother actually got to go with me this year, which was really cool because I don't see him as much anymore. But we left Sunday. I left Indy Sunday night. Met him in Dallas. Dallas was where we were getting on the big plane for the majority of the trip, and they said, "Hey, there's going to be a 5-hour delay. We got to change the tire." So I'm thinking, like, "Hey, do you need some help with that tire? You know, we can probably knock it out in like a half hour." But so got like 4 or 5 hours go by, and they're like, "Hey, we're canceling the flight. We'll give you a hotel room, put you up for the night."
Oh man.
So yeah, so we come back the next morning, get on the plane, 17-hour flight. We land in Sydney, and while we were still in the air, we missed our connecting flight. So we get there, and they have to put us up for the night in a hotel, which it was cool to see Sydney, but it was nighttime, so we didn't really get to enjoy it. So we show up to Perth the next day finally, 3 days later, and I get off the plane and get in the car and go straight to practice. So I was dead by the time we got there.
Oh, I'll bet. Jet lag, they call it.
Yeah.
It honestly is miserable, but it is so worth it.
So the equipment that you raced, was it an American team, or were you driving for a separate car owner there in Perth?
No, it's a guy from Perth, Australia. He got a new spike, and then actually he ended up buying one of my Toyota motors that we ran when we had our own stuff. And unfortunately, we had the main in backwards, so it was plumbed wrong, and we couldn't get it running all weekend. Somehow salvaged the second place to McDougal, but it was good fun. They got the thing fixed now, so hopefully I get to go back.
So your affiliation with Toyota, did that have anything to do with your invite to Australia?
No, because the first year that I went over there, so it's kind of a weird deal. I was running with Boss, a guy from Australia came over, and he was running Chili Bowl with Boss, and I was kind of talking to him like, "Hey, you know, how hard would it be to get over there sometime?" And we worked it out. And so the first year I went over there, we had a Spike S-Slinger, and then now I kind of need to have to run a Toyota. So he actually stepped up and bought a Toyota motor for me to come back.
I see. Well, they're saying we got 5 more minutes, but we're on the good topic of the Australia thing. Are you planning to go back again to Australia next season?
I'd like to. I was actually hoping to go back for the title in February, but obviously with the Florida deal, I can't. But really, what's kind of on my eye now, I'm trying to lock down something early for next year in New Zealand. I'd like to go for a couple weeks and race more than one race.
When you say early, what dates are you talking about?
Well, not go there early. I'm just trying to get some plans before everyone locks in their drivers and everything like that. So for the first time ever, not procrastinating, trying to be a little proactive.
Yeah. One other question I wanted to ask you, we were talking about the Keith Kuntz team. I think it was just Sunday night on MAV TV, I seen where they had an outlaw kart race in North Carolina, I think, and the gentleman or the young man that won that got a ride at Chili Bowl with the Kuntz team. What was his name and how did he do?
His name is Jesse Caldwell, and he was nothing short of very impressive. So he won that race, and then he came out to, I think he ran Bakersfield and Turkey Night, and I mean he's a super smooth driver, and Turkey Night, you know, it's a hard race to get into, and he locked in straight from qualifying. And then for him to make it to the B feature at Chili Bowl is, you know, he's going to end up being competition, so I don't want to blow him up too much. but no, seriously, all kidding aside, I think he's extremely talented. And, you know, he's just a kid, you know, normal blue-collar family. Like, just, I think he's deserving of it. It's pretty cool to see him doing good.
Now, also in one of the Kuntz cars, another driver that came from that North Carolina track was Dale Earnhardt's niece or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Carson Elledge, yeah. And
Carson ran with, I think it was Chad Boat's team. Mm-hmm. She did pretty well.
Oh, she was with Boat's team, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she probably was upset missing out on that win in North Carolina and said, I'm going to go to the Chili Bowl somehow. And it was great to see her there. It was great to see you there. And it was great to see the Colton. Was it?
Yeah.
I love.
You know, it's kind of weird. You know, Carson being related to Dale, I don't think has anything to do with her racing. But at the same time, just people like Dale on like social media and stuff, like praising Chili Bowl and getting that out there. It's like it can't hurt our sport. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You just made your first Chili Bowl A main this year. Boy, that had to be a really neat deal, finishing 13th. But, man, I guess that's one thing you can kind of just check off your list and kind of say, well, I got that one done. I can move on to something else.
I don't see that happening.
No, it was really cool to be able to make that because I've been going for, I don't know, probably 14 years or so. I've been going watching with my dad.
Right.
We sit up, you know, Section AA every year, and like we would gawk over the fence, look at all the cars, especially, you know, Keith's stuff, and so I guess it's pretty surreal to run it. And you know, I really think we had a lot better car than 13th, but you know, it ended up being fairly one lane there for the Saturday A feature, and you know, it's the best guys you'll ever race with. So you make one mistake and you get passed by 5 people.
Yeah, we saw that on the last lap.
Yeah.
I can't believe Larson
Can't
missed.
believe that.
I can't believe Larson missed that, and Bell got under him.
Oh, it's obvious to most people that the route that you're on leads to NASCAR and some pavement stuff. And are you thinking that way, or are you prepared to look into that, or are you going to be content with dirt racing?
You know, firstly, I would definitely always be content with dirt racing. You know, there's something special about it, and I don't know what's really gone on lately, and I don't know if it's been like this in the past, so I don't want to sound stupid, but it seems like it's like really healthy, and there's a lot of people taking notice, and you know, even just little videos online are getting 500,000 hits.
Right.
So, you know, I think it's coming around, and people are starting to see the quality of racing every night, but I was fortunate I got to test a pavement late model this year in Irwindale, and it was pretty fun. You know, I actually really enjoyed it more than I thought I would, being a big dirt fanatic. But you know, I don't know if anything's going to come of that. I'd love to run a race and see where we're at and see what it's really like to do that. But you know, I guess it just takes time, so we'll just have to see.
You don't know what opportunities are going to come your way, but last week our guest was Chad Goff, who you may know. He's a sprint car driver.
Yeah. Chad lives right down the street from me at home.
I
Oh,
thought
he does.
so.
Yeah.
He surprised me. Of course, I've been everywhere, so I knew about pavement sprint car racing, the must-see series out east, and that looks like something that would be a great opportunity that could happen soon in your career, to maybe get an opportunity to run an open-wheel car on pavement, which could take you to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Have you thought about that as potential?
You know, I had never really thought about it, and then I can't remember, I did an interview with someone, I think it was at the shootout, and they kind of asked about like the road to IndyCar, and man, I don't even know how to think about that. That would be so unreal. You know, it'd be cool to run anything open wheel on pavement, I think. You know, it's just the right opportunity has to come along, and I try my best to talk to everyone I meet or everyone I come across. You know, meet them, see what they're about.
Right.
I think Chad was telling us that he had raced at Winchester, if I remember right, Greg. Man,
yeah, I have a DVD. Not anymore, but Chad let me borrow it when I first met him, and that place is unbelievable.
I was going to say, that's some crazy stuff. That might even be wilder than what I-70 used to be.
But, yeah, that place is crazy.
You know, I hope and pray that doors open for you, because you're a local guy for me. I mean, I grew up watching so many racers come out of the Kansas City area, and I just know that you're headed for a career in motorsports, and it could be at a midget. It could be, like you say, that the television and all that's going to really turn it into...
It's only going uphill right now, it seems like.
Oh, yes. It's really getting good. And I encouraged to know that you might be able to get behind a sprint car again this season. Is that possible? Behind the wheel of a Sprinter?
Yeah, definitely possible.
Actually,
I would say we'll probably for sure get it out a few times.
World of Outlaws, or will it be USAC?
It'll be winged, you know, it just depends. I guess it just depends on when our off weekend is and what's close, you know.
Right.
We were supposed to run the All-Star show. We towed out there at Kokomo. Ended up getting rained out that night too, but you know, pretty much any wing race that's close, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if we ran out to Ohio for a weekend or something like that even.
Yeah.
Well, we've got 16 Power Eye Outlaw midget races at Valley. There will be some national events, some West midget events out there, and then there's a lot of sprint car races as well the same weekend, and possibly maybe you could end up with a ride and do double duty at Valley.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't turn it down.
Yeah. You've got some new sponsors for 2019. You know, I always say we can't do it without the sponsors, and sometimes they just don't really get enough credit.
No, they don't.
Can you tell us just a little bit about who it is that's going with you this year?
So Kirby Smith out of Kansas City, Kirby Smith Machinery, and then...
Where's he located?
They're like downtown Kansas City, I believe.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So, and then they actually helped bring Link Belt in, and Chillieville was the first time that I've met any of these guys, surprisingly enough, so... we were lucky. We had Adam and Phil, one from each, one from Kirby and one from Link Belt show up. And man, they were a good time, and they absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a lot of great help. And is there anybody else that you would like to thank before we wrap this up?
Anybody out there, before we wrap it up, does anybody have a question for Tucker? We're gonna be wrapping it up here in just the next few minutes. So if anybody's got a question for Tucker Klaasmeyer, you better zip it on out there. But like Greg was saying, I see that you guys are going to be at Valley Speedway on May the 3rd, and then you go to Lucas Oil, I think, on May the 4th.
Yeah, and then I think we come back for Lake Ozark, which I love that place, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, there'll be a lot of great opportunities for you to race close to the Kansas City area. And,
yeah, absolutely.
Race fans, you need to check out this talent, Tucker Klaasmeyer. Is that the pronunciation?
Yeah, that was perfect, man. You nailed it.
All right.
Get us.
Well, I think a lot of you, my friend, and thank you for calling in.
Man, I appreciate that. You guys can call anytime.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I appreciate for not writing your number down. It was on the messenger or something. And I didn't write it down. I went to check it this morning, and my heart just jumped up in my throat. I thought, oh, no, it's gone. How are we going to get a hold of Tucker? But, man, I appreciate you. Appreciate you calling, and can't tell you, man, just how proud I think it makes, I mean, everybody in Kansas City, from the racers at Sweet Springs to, I'm sure, the folks in Paola. Maybe like Clint Boyer, you'll be erecting a community center down there soon.
Yeah. Well, honestly, man, that means a lot. I appreciate that. It's fun getting to travel around. I do miss living in KC quite a bit. I love that place, and it's pretty cool to know people are following.
We didn't even ask you. Are you at Kuntz's place now? Or are you in Kansas? Are you in Paola?
Yeah, no, he's in.
No, I live in Columbus, Indiana, by Keith's shop. I live with Connor Ridge and Logan Seavey.
Uh-huh. Well, also we have Kansas City drivers doing about the same thing that you're doing, talking about Clinton Boyles, and
yeah, Clint's awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, you should have raced with Clinton out of Sweet Spring, shouldn't you?
I don't know if we were in micros at the same time. Of course, I didn't really know anyone back then, but me and Clint are pretty good friends now. We hang out quite a bit.
Great.
Well, he's living up that way too, isn't he?
Yeah. I think he lives with his sister and Hunter Schoenberg.
Schoenberg, yeah.
Yeah, so he'll come to Columbus. He actually does stuff at Dave Carrick's house, so he'll come over and we'll cook some steaks and have a few beers and hang out.
Nothing like a hometown guy to hang out with, huh?
You're living the life, Tucker, living the life.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Well, Tucker, thanks a lot, man. Like I say, I really do appreciate you hooking up.
You do have a website people can go to, correct?
Yeah, it's just TuckerKlaasmeyer.com, I believe.
TuckerKlaasmeyer.com. Check him out, race fans. Thanks again, Tucker, man. It's been awesome. And we'll see you at Valley.
Yeah, that sounds great, man.
Take care and go get him, buddy.
Sounds good. You guys too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care of your coach. Well, that was a class act.
Now, that was fun. Not every day. That's what I love about this job. I think the last time, or I think when we did the awards show for the open wheels, I said, how much better can it get than you get to sit down with Bobby Lane, and get to talk to him and interview him and find out. To me, that's like Mark. You get to find out what these people are really like.
To me, the satisfaction in being around and racing my whole life, and you too, you get to see so much young talent start out and watch their careers. I mean, I just said Sammy Swindell and Kinzer, give my age away. I remember when they were his age.
Oh, yeah.
And they just stick to it and go race. When it's time to race and you got to ride, go race.
I think one of the first outlaw shows I ever seen, they were hauling their race cars on open trailers, just like used to see in the old days, with the tire rack across the front and
towing with a 78 Chevy pickup.
Exactly.
Half ton.
and where it's at now.
Yeah.
But
that's amazing.
I'll tell you what, unless somebody's got something to say, I think we might wrap this thing up. It's 8:34. We've gone an hour and 35 minutes. No breaks tonight, Justin.
Yeah.
How about that, man?
Hour
no audio issue.
Yeah, well, we got record, so everybody will be able to watch this later on, and I'll probably have it up in about a couple hours.
We're not going to pin you to it, Mike, but Mike's our producer. He's our go-to guy. I mean, does the hour and a half concept feel good to you tonight? I mean, it went better, I think.
I'm open to anything. I mean, the way I'm looking at it is if we've really got an interesting discussion going with somebody, let's go for it.
Let her eat.
And let the big dog eat. And
we have no airtime. We have to answer.
Right.
Yeah.
But no.
Now, who's our network?
Cheeseworks? I have no idea. But anyway, it's been a fun show. Greg, I appreciate you coming in. The Burlingtons, Lisa, Donnie, Mark Schafman, Justin. I don't know. Curtis Morrison's been manning the camera there, trying to give us our close-up shots.
And your son.
The comments tonight. It was a team effort.
Yeah, it's been great. So I will say, don't forget, the next 2 weeks, Justin is going to be doing something. I don't know what. I've just said, hey,
you're out of here. You're going to Florida.
Yeah, 7 in the morning. I get on the Big Bird.
So are you saying next Thursday night, Justin and myself or whoever can come in here and run this show for you? Or?
Well, I suppose the boy, I don't know where he went. He could open the house up if you wanted
We
to come do it.
don't care,
It's
buddy.
not-
We're having a good time.
Yeah.
So.
We can have it anywhere. I'll give you
Yeah.
a call, Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, Justin's going to be doing it for the next couple of weeks, and I'll be back the 10th. So we'll try and resume it. And man, I just hope we can keep up the lineup of guests that we've been having. I'm just overwhelmingly pleased.
We'll get some good video down there for us.
Well, I'm sure they're going to try. Yeah, I'll be doing East Bay Raceway. I think the first night is UMP Modifieds, I think. And then the second Saturday is the Crate Late Models, and the third is the Lucas Oil Late Models.
There's
Big
a lot
boys.
to do, a lot to see. There's like 4 racetracks with huge schedules.
Yeah.
I just posted today that we wish we could go to Florida with you. Thanks for the invite. But we got to stay home.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a blast.
I certainly will. I'm going to try. Sometimes you have to work at it, but I do when I go down there. I try hard. But anyway, folks, that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Like I said last week, if you like the show, call a friend and tell them. If you didn't, just forget it. But anyway, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for tuning in.